welcome to Untold Physio Stories podcast, your perfect commute resource with physio failures, successes, interesting cases, and more from the physio and rehab world, with your hosts, Drs. Andrew Rothschild and Erson Religioso.
Try these in your practice. Email my exclusive promo code MMT2 to Helix at helix4pain.com to receive samples of these new professional pain relief creams and find a medical supply distributor near you. You'll get a starter kit with several samples, patient information brochures, and it's a great way to help patients and grow your practice. Welcome back to Untold Physio Stories podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Dr. E, with Modern Manual Therapy, Edge Mobility System, and our online 4-month mentoring program, Modern Rehab Mastery. And my co-host is
Dr. Andrew Rothschild with Modern Patient Education.
How's it going today, Andrew?
Doing well, Erson. How you doing?
Good. You just came back from vacation, huh?
I did. Very relaxing.
Good. And that's why Andrew doesn't have a story today.
That's right.
Yeah. So I've had a couple of recent interesting patients. Two of them in particular were very similar with, I thought when I saw the first one, I remember telling him, after the history, it's been a while since I've seen someone who likes to exercise as much as you, and had such a simple problem. So the first case was, he just basically complained of plantar fasciopathy, kind of heel pain. And it turns out that even though he works in collections and every other person in his office has what they would describe as a desk job, this guy does something on the order of 500 squats and lunges a day, 100 push-ups. He just works out all day to the point where his bosses basically just gave him his own area where everyone else kind of has cubicles, because it was just he just needed room to move. So he really only had
he's on the phone doing push-ups and squats while he's talking to people.
With that, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think he's just on a headset,
So he's just knocking out some squats while talking to people. That sounds great.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually when I take business calls and I'm not recording them, I usually just march around and I squat and I lunge too. So, but not 500, because I told him oh yeah, I like to do that too. I march around. I try to get steps every time. Even when I get gas, I run in place, just because I'm just one of those 10 to 15,000 steps a day people. So, but and I thought I look crazy, but this guy was definitely crazy. So that was a simple case. The next one, and I told him, well, it'll be a while before I meet someone who exercises as much as you. And then 3 or 4 days later, I meet this who could have been this guy's father, because he was maybe in his mid to late 60s. He is a ski instructor, and very similarly, except for without maybe all the lifting, but he just does a ton of body weight squats. Super compliant. He always does lunges. He had complaints of what he thought was a hamstring pull, and his doctor told him was a hamstring pull. But the thing is, none of those things really hurt his hamstring pull, and it was always worse in sitting. So, when I told him that, does it make sense? Even if I just simply test his hamstring, it tested, a little weaker on the involved side, but it wasn't painful at all, and I was really kind of cranking on him. And normally when you do a open chain hamstring test, it often gives people cramps, right? It's if they're not ready for it, especially if they're not warmed up and they kind of just go for whatever we would think is a 5 out of 5, they often get a cramp. So yeah, he was convinced that it was lumbogenic. Also, when I did some neurodynamic stuff, that also reproduced it. So he got better with side glides. And on the second visit, he told me, oh, I didn't want to mention it because I was so concerned about my hamstring, but I also have a plantar fasciopathy or a heel pain. And it definitely didn't seem to be, affected by repeated motions. It was tender to touch and around the lateral or around the medial calcaneal tubercle. It seemed like a kind of classic plantar fasciopathy. He had a little bit limited great toe extension. So I told him about the Strasbourg sock, which it was actually invented by one of my fellowship mentees. I don't know if you ever heard of that. Do you ever see that thing where like you just pull it on and it's like a sock with like a Velcro attached to the toe?
Oh yeah. I've seen that. I figured I didn't realize it was someone that you knew.
Yeah, yep. It was invented by a local PT in Buffalo, and I remember he told me that his business partner was approached by Oprah's show. And they're like, "Well, we want your product on Oprah," and they're like, and he just said, "No, we don't have the capacity to make to do it."
He turned down Oprah.
He did. And he's like, "We'll hire people. We'll hire people," but he couldn't convince his business
Oh
partner
my goodness.
to do it. So anyway, this guy was basically one of those better every time he left with his hamstring and his plantar fasciopathy, and just a little bit worse every time he came back. So over the course of a couple visits, on a second visit, he tells me, we start talking about other things he could possibly be doing. I'm like, well, what else did you do, in a day? Because I know you're obviously very diligent with the resets. I have no reason to believe that you're not being diligent because you just exercise so much. So he said, oh, I like to play virtual reality games. And I said, oh, well, what do you play? He's like, oh, I'm currently playing like this gun game, and I might play it for like a couple hours or something. So I said, okay, well, just make sure you take some breaks. So on the third visit again, he said he was only like on the second visit, he said he's 50% better. On the third visit, he's like, you know what? I think I overestimated that 50%. I think I'm only like 20% better. My heel is definitely better, but my hamstring isn't. But he said he's like, I'm on my third Strasbourg sock because I pull that thing so tight, I just rip it. I'm like, whoa, I just said that you just need to like pull it to like 25%. And I even make a point to tell all my patients that the first 2 nights I wore it, I pulled it so tight that my calf was so sore I could like barely walk. So I don't know how your calf wasn't that sore, but like you definitely don't need to pull it so hard that you need to rip you rip 2 of them in 3 weeks. So that I thought was crazy. Yeah. I mean, 'cause it's super flexible. It is a very flexible sock. So his wife started talking to because she wanted to make sure that he understood everything he was supposed to do. And we talked about virtual reality again and this like Oculus or whatever he's using. And it turns out he plays it like 3 to 4 hours a day every day.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. And I was like, oh, I just thought this was kind of like a casual thing. And his wife's just like laughing and kind of rolling her eyes. She's like, no, like when he puts this thing on, he like cleared out an area in the basement. We made sure nothing was around and no one can be there because he just like he's like dodging and moving all around, and like if anyone else is in the room, like even the dog, they say goes away because like he'll just like bump into you and knock you over. And
oh, wow.
He's doing all kinds of like flexions and rotations, and he's like, yeah, the one I'm doing now, I'm doing like sword fighting for 3 or 4 hours, and I'm just like swinging my arms around and I'm dodging and parrying and all this stuff. And I said, yeah, I think that's probably counteracting, like those 10 side glides an hour and like these 10 neurodynamic stretches an hour. Because I go back to like the whole cup analogy that Greg Lehman uses, and like the side glides might empty the cup, but what else is filling up the cup? I think you're really filling up the cup and overflowing it because, I thought this was a casual thing, but you're doing it 7 days a week, like for 3 to 4 hours a day. That's a long time to play video games, especially like, I mean, whether you're sitting, it's great that you're active, but anything, again, to paraphrase Greg Lehman, like every joint, every tissue has a finite limit of load and stress it can handle, right?
Man, that's hilarious.
It's commitment. So yeah, I mean, after we identified that, everything started sticking, and he got better.
That many hours. How do you have time? How many hours a day to have time to do all that?
I think he's retired, and he's also, well, he's not really even retired, but he's a ski instructor, and it's also like
off season.
Yeah. So, and maybe he's only a part-time ski instructor because he is on the older side, but I mean, he's super fit and very active. Really, really nice guy. But
it's kind of wild. I don't think of people that old doing that high intense kind of virtual reality gaming, but I'm not much of a gamer, so maybe I don't know the demographics.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a gamer, but I don't play for any more than like 15 or 20 minutes now because of kids and life.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, just doing anything for that long is nuts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So where can people find you, Andrew?
People can find me at Twitter and Instagram at a Rothschild PT.
All right. Then Andrew's just wrapping up his Modern Rehab Mastery, Modern Patient Education cohort. So if you guys are interested in our 4-month mentoring program, we have open enrollments, and it's now approved for about 25 to 30 CEUs. So it's quite a deal. You'll probably be able to handle the majority of cases that come in your way. Check that out at modernrehabmastery.com. If you have any crazy physio failures, funny stories, or interesting cases, hit Andrew or I up on social media or email me, and we can tell your story online. You can come on the podcast. Make sure to rate Untold Physio Stories 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts. And as always, you guys have a great day. Untold Physio Stories is now sponsored by MyPT Insurance. Insurance just got easier. Through continued research, MyPT Insurance has crafted a policy that is economical and provides you with the peace of mind you need. Your extensive education, training, and experience as a PT allows you to assist clients in achieving their personal health goals. By practicing without individual professional liability insurance, you could be placing your career and future finances at risk. Whether you're a student, self-employed, or employed with a company, MyPT Insurance is here to provide affordable insurance coverage while protecting you and your patients. MyPT Insurance's plan also includes mobile coverage, which means it follows you wherever you work in the United States. Employed rates and self-employed rates are available. Visit myptinsurance.com/edge to sign up today.